Hello everyone and welcome back to the Multiversed. I'm Paul, joined with Jay.
What up?
Jay just came back from Japan.
Konnichiwa.
How was it?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I did a lot of neat things. I went to the robot restaurant. If you ever go there, it's definitely worth going to.
Do robots serve you?
No.
Here is
I
your
didn't
unagi.
actually eat there.
Oh.
It was really cool. They put on like 3 different shows during the hour and a half performance, or however you want to phrase it. And like it was flashing lights everywhere, dancing, and like giant costumes, and people controlling like giant robots as if they're like RC cars. And they started doing Fortnite dances in front of me too, and that was funny as heck. And one of them blew me a kiss. He was very nice.
Oh.
But as soon as we walked out, it was in Shinjuku, which is like the red light district. So as soon as we walked out of the place, it was some Nigerian dude just being like, "Yo, what up, my man? What you need? I'll find it for you right now. I got whatever you need."
God.
And I was like, nah, I'm good. He's like, nah, you say you're good, but that don't mean you're good. So like, what can I help you find out? And Pete taught me to say keko desu, which is just no thank you. And like, so I said that to the Nigerian dude, and he just started speaking extremely fluent Japanese.
And you were like, "Oh God, no! I was not ready."
I just kept walking, so Pete was just laughing at like whatever the dude was saying. That was just day one.
Oh,
And
well,
I
that
ended
sounds
it
like a
with-
pretty bad start.
I ended it with petting owls and feeding them, and letting them be on my arm and shoulder. Marble was the one on my shoulder, and then Michu was my favorite one. That was the big one.
I love how there's an owl named Marble.
It was
That's
Marble,
awesome.
Sugar, Ross, Michu, and Jack. I don't know what the last two's name were. And they don't know the gender of the owls, too, because apparently you have to do that through blood work.
Oh,
I know.
I didn't know that. I didn't, but then again, I've never stopped to ponder genitalia of birds, because you never really see them.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I know what boobies are.
Right. Yeah. True. Yeah, that's usually a good indication, unless
Yep.
unless you got the man boob thing going on.
There could be man boobies, huh?
Yeah, but but sometimes facial hair can help. Sometimes.
Maybe for the tits.
Yeah.
The blue tits.
Oh yeah.
I think those... I really hope these are actually birds.
Well, I think there's a something booby.
There is a
There's
booby.
there's a blue booby.
I think it's like
I
a
don't know.
blue-titted booby or something like that.
Something that's like that sounds inappropriate, but is an actual given name
Right.
for a bird because it was named before those words got really dirty.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of birds, we're going to be talking about a very special bird to the comic book community. I don't know. Poor attempt at segueing. We're talking about the Phoenix from Marvel's Uncanny X-Men.
Burnt from the ashes.
Right. Yes. And the Phoenix, I think one thing that's kind of cool about just Phoenixes in general, they have a lot of mythological connections. Like their Phoenixes in Harry Potter.
They go apeshit for
Mm-hmm. And, classic mythology. Apparently, from what I understand, it's like from Arabian myths, and that it could live 5 to 6 centuries in the desert, and after a time, it burns itself on a funeral pyre, rises from the ashes, renewed youth, to live through another cycle.
It's interesting because I know that they're in Asian culture as well. Which is pretty neat because, like, what is it? Genbu? I think it's Seiryu. It's either Seiryu or Suzaku. That's the Phoenix, the Fire Phoenix that's in like the Eastern protection god for the compass
Yeah.
spirits, and they also it's the same thing in Chinese and Korean mythology too. So they just have the same gods but like different names for them.
Yeah. Well, resurrection's pretty huge in like almost every culture. And like look at Jesus.
Yeah,
He's one.
USA, born in America.
Yeah.
If you talk to a Mormon,
Yep. And yeah, and of course comic books. Everybody's always coming back for the most part when you die. But I feel like Phoenix is probably it's like one of the most well known. I think if you're looking at comic books. And from what I gather, I mean, I know the Dark Phoenix or the Phoenix Saga, however you want to word it, is it's a beloved story for a lot of X-Men fans. And I think back in 2009, Jean Grey as the Dark Phoenix was ranked IGN's ninth greatest comic book villain of all time. So Dark Phoenix is in the top 10 according to IGN.
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, do you remember that magazine Wizard?
Nope.
Okay. Well, Wizard was a magazine that I used to read when I was getting into comic books, and or I should say Dark Phoenix ranked 38th in the top 100. So
I think in like 2007, Phoenix had a parody with the "I'm a Juggernaut bitch" video, and that became super fun.
Yep. Oh yeah, and the whole Juggernaut bitch thing was in X-Men: The Last Stand,
Yeah, it
which
was.
was the first live action attempt at doing the Phoenix Saga.
And Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Both were pretty rough.
They are pretty. Yeah.
Although
and
I feel like it got too much hate, and I don't know. Maybe I just am thinking back on it fondly right now because like having the ending where it's like her going out of control and then Wolverine being the only one not being immediately evaporated and having to kill her.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty nice.
Yeah, and that's from. I mean, there's been like 2 times I can remember where Jean, or I should say Logan, was going up against Jean. I think that scene in particular, I think, was from like the Grant Morrison X-Men run, which I haven't read recently because I was diving way back into the 70s for this Dark Phoenix stuff.
Right.
But I did try to do like a little synopsis of the actual event itself, and then just sort of seeing how it holds up with other adaptations, because you got like your X-Men cartoons, and now there's the latest attempt at doing the Dark Phoenix that came out a couple of weeks back.
It came out.
Oh yeah, it's been out. Yeah, and it is not doing well. I think I was reading in the news today that it's getting pulled from like over like 1,500 theaters.
Rough.
Like, it is just, yeah, it's not doing well.
I didn't even I have heard nothing about it for a while and just thought like, oh, they're finally stopping. Awesome.
Yeah, no, I actually went to go see it, but I'll get to my review.
You cannot spoil me, so go for it, because I haven't watched any of the
newer X-Men movies,
Jennifer Lawrence versions of Mystique, except for Days of Future Past, which that really made me confirm that I dislike her as an actor for the franchise.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on the movie, though? Did you hate the
For
movie
Days
as
of
well,
Future Past? I thought it was laughably bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had fun watching it because of all this, like, weird, silly shit that was happening.
Yeah.
And, like, none of it makes sense for time continuity whatsoever.
No.
And, it's either something happens and it fixes the future, or it's just creating an alternate dimension in which blah, 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 blah.
Right.
They wouldn't be like, no. You need to do the thing finally, or else we're destined to fail forever? I don't know.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah. I just liked seeing old Xavier Magneto with young Xavier Magneto. Like, the whole James McAvoy, Patrick Stewart face-to-face thing.
Did you see the thing, though, that was like, what is it, Fassbender? Is that Magneto?
Yeah.
Did you see, like, Fassbender in the 90s being, like, super rugged and handsome, and then, like, early 2000s Magneto with it being fucking James
Ian
McAvoy.
McKellen?
Ian McKellen, yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's like, what the hell happened in those 10 years? Yeah, no, the continuity makes no sense. How do you look like Michael Fassbender in the 90s, handsome, and then in 2000s you go straight to Ian McKellen? Like that.
Maybe he's part Asian.
What a decade. I don't know. Maybe drugs. I don't know. Um,
His powers. I don't know. Didn't they do that in a thing where like Magneto has the power to like give himself youth somehow?
well, I mean, there's been a few explanations to why. Because I really like the idea of Magneto being a Holocaust survivor, but obviously
Right.
that gets harder to maintain the further we go into time. So there's been times where Magneto has been he got reverted back to an infant, and then there was a clone, and in one of the cartoons, Magneto was actually using Captain America's blood
Oh.
to keep his youth. I don't know why they don't just say, well, the magnetism is slowing his aging. Science.
Yeah, that'd work.
I mean, yeah, if he can control, yeah, whatever. I mean, if they just said, "Oh, it's the magnetism," I'd be like, "Okay, you really don't have to explain any further than that."
They can just be like, "Oh, it's a comic book. Oh, got it. Yep.
Exactly.
I'm good.
Right. Yeah.
Peter Parker's been 25 for 30 years,
It's like instead of aliens, you could just go comic books,
pretty much.
and it would be like, oh, okay, all right. And there's a lot of wacky stuff happening in the Dark Phoenix saga. I mean, this was in the 70s. I think 1976 to 1977 is when, like, kind of roughly, I guess the first part of the Phoenix saga was going on. And of course, this is the 70s, so space was big in the 70s. We're actually going to space, and Star Wars coming out in 77. So, yeah, it's really interesting just looking at this story and then how other properties tried to adapt this. Like, what was it? Like in X-Men The Last Stand, they said, like, oh, Jean wrapped herself in a psychological cocoon
Something
while
like
hanging
that.
out at the bottom of the river, which is actually how they explained Jean Grey coming back. She was at the bottom of Jamaica Bay in a weird cocoon thing, but I'll get to that. So the first thing I thought I would kind of tackle into exactly trying to figure out what exactly is the Phoenix. So I was doing some research on that, and so in essence, it's a force almost like the Force, but rather than binding the universe together, it's a protector for all of life and creation, and especially this MacGuffin known as the Mcron crystal. But it's interesting because despite being a protector of creation, it also has some pretty destructive impulses as well. So I don't know if it's the best thing to be guarding life and creation. If it just tends to, I don't know.
Well, maybe
I
it's
feel like
sort of like Pandora's box, where like it has all the evil and wickedness of the world, but there's still hope inside of it.
yeah, I was thinking more of like a almost like a drunk historian in an antique shop.
Yeah.
Like it's like I mean he loves the antiques, but you get a few in him and he's got destructive impulses.
He can't talk about antiques without a few in him,
Yeah, exactly.
and
Yeah,
he gets a little aggressive when he's got
yeah.
a few in him.
It's like this is a plate from 1940. Ah,
It's like,
shit.
do you fucking deserve to live?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the Dark fucking Phoenix.
Yep.
Fuck you. End your life. That's it. You're dead.
That's sort of
why are you even talking? You're dead. You're dead.
That's how I view the Phoenix. And according to Wikipedia, the Phoenix is among the most feared beings in all of existence, having the power to cut and regrow any part of the universe, as well as destroy it entirely, which is part of the Phoenix's purpose. The judgment of the Phoenix to burn away the obsolete. The Phoenix Force is described as being the embodiment of the very passion of creation, the spark that gave life to the universe, the flame that will ultimately consume it.
I feel like in general, it just is saying like, Phoenix is god tier. Don't fuck with it.
Right. And we can use it to whatever narrative purpose that we need it to serve.
Yeah.
Speaking of narrative purpose, so I was reading over kind of some of the history of the Phoenix, and at one point in time, the Phoenix, thousands of years ago, came to Earth, took the form of a redhead, and joined the Stone Age version of the Avengers, where apparently Odin was also a member of Stone Age Avengers, and the Phoenix and Odin had a thing.
So Odin fucked a god?
A flaming bird one.
Man, good for him.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
really conquered many different trials.
Yeah, he's like most
Is that how he lost his eye?
Not in the comic books, but that would be interesting. Oh, that was a good night.
They just don't explain it.
Yeah, they don't.
That'd be
But
awesome.
yeah, but I guess many years later, after things didn't work out with the All Father, maybe I don't know, maybe he just wasn't all that. And she finds a kindred spirit in a little girl called Jean Grey, because in the comics, her friend is dying from a car crash, and so Jean kind of creates this connection with her friend, trying to prevent her from passing, and but Jean starts to die with her, and apparently the Phoenix broke that connection, and since then kind of kept a close eye on Jean, according to comic book history. I think that's definitely retconned comic book history.
That makes sense because it's like, oh no, you're not a piece of shit. Okay, cool. You're worthy of like me hanging out with you.
Right? Yeah, I'm gonna.
But like, you're still a stupid kid, so like, I'm gonna keep an eye on you. You can't use like, I'm not gonna
Right.
help you out unless
Yeah,
you
but
really need it.
right, but you're not like other stupid kids. Like you're special.
Right.
I'm gonna put you. I'm gonna keep your number in my back pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, years later, when Jean got older, like all young, ambitious girls, she moved out, went to a weird prep school, dated a guy with an eye condition, and went to space for reasons that comics, they're in space and fighting, and so anyway, on this particular mission, they got to go back to Earth. And the spaceship is heavily damaged. Like there's holes in it and stuff like that. So, and they were with an astronaut, this guy named Dr. Corbeau. And so what Jean decides to do is, I'm going to absorb Corbeau's knowledge of flight, and I will, I'll fly the plane while everybody's in the most secure part of the ship. And so she hopes that and I guess she had hoped that the telekinesis would protect her, which I guess it works like sunblock. If you're like, I'm afraid about solar flare, my telekinesis will protect me. I don't think it worked that way.
Comic books.
Yeah, exactly, comic books. But apparently there was like 27 minutes left to go until they reach Earth's atmosphere. Her powers begin to fail, and she gets exposed to this powerful solar radiation, and that was the big 100th issue of Uncanny X-Men. And then the following issue, it opens with the ship crash landing on the tarmac at Kennedy Airport, but it keeps going, thus crashing into Jamaica Bay, sinks to the bottom. Everybody swims to the surface, but they're all looking for Jean, trying to figure where she is, and then she bursts from the ocean. Like a big coming out party. She's fabulous. She's got a new uniform, new powers. She's glowing. She's like, it's Phoenix, bitch.
Jean is so yesterday. It's Phoenix now.
Yep. But then she, I think that being that fabulous that quickly kind of burned her out, like an American, or like America's Next Top Model. She just passes out. They bring Jean to the hospital, and that's when Xavier's like, you guys need a vacation. Why don't you go to Ireland and hang out with Banshee? And I'm thinking, of all the places you send your team, Ireland, I mean, like...
Beautiful castles and mountains.
I mean,
fresh
true.
Air.
I mean, nothing against Ireland, but your red-headed best friend almost bought the farm and is now host of some incredibly powerful alien shit. So to cheer him up, they go to Ireland, where it constantly rains, to hang out with a mutant whose power is to scream.
Yeah, but there's also other redheads.
I mean, wouldn't you want to go to a sunny beach with a mutant whose power is to make mimosas?
I mean, yeah, but we don't know about that one.
Yeah, not yet.
Which mutant does that?
I don't know.
I guess their name would just be Mimosa.
That'd be hilarious. Just mimosas coming out of her fingertips.
Like the Powerpuff Girls, where they had Sedusa instead of Medusa. And she was just getting it with the professor.
Yeah. I think part of the reason why they went to Ireland was because Banshee's like, hey, I have a castle. You guys can stay here for free.
Right.
And Xavier's like, I'll pay for your plane tickets, you bunch of fucking freeloaders. That's about it. You live in my house for free.
Yeah, but they have to fight things for him.
That's true too.
Like,
That's
my
true.
my mind powers aren't working on this person because they're wearing a
Yeah.
helmet.
Mm-hmm.
My one weakness.
Yeah. No. He just put a
How
Chef
dare you put a
Boyardee can over
bucket
his
on your
head, and
head?
yeah. And at one point, I guess Xavier starts to think that maybe sending the team to Ireland may not have been a bad idea because he kind of gets like a mental Snapchat from Storm, just sort of being like, "This is terrible." The vacation home sucks. We're being attacked by a giant dildo-looking fucker. That's your half brother, Juggernaut. I mean, I always thought the tip there. And some white racist asshole who calls himself Black Tom is here.
Black Tom.
Yeah, Black Tom. And
I just recently watched Deadpool 2 again, so that's fresh.
Yeah, Black Tom. And so Xavier's like, Cyclops, go to Ireland, take care of that. I'm gonna stay here and watch your girlfriend sleep, who I may or may not have admitted that I was in love with in the very first issue of X-Men.
Did you watch Pete Holmes's X-Men thing?
No.
His X-Men stuff is so fucking good.
Really? I gotta check it out.
Like he does a thing with he plays Professor Xavier, and when he's talking to Jean, he's just like, no, you can stay on the team, but just open up your mind to me for a moment. And it's just him inputting all these flashes of like what he wants to do with her.
Oh God.
And it's so good. But he's like firing everyone else in the X-Men. Like Angel, just like, what are you doing, Birdman? What are you gonna do? Tickle him with your feathers, you fucking pansy? It's so good.
I mean, it is interesting looking at that first issue where it's, I can't remember exactly, but it's basically Charles being like, just being like, Jean, I love you. Like, mentally, like, no one could know, I love you. But they never revisit it up until, I think, like, the Onslaught saga. But another episode for another day. So Cyclops is like, no, I'm going to stay here with Jean. And so then in Ireland, Nightcrawler is saved by leprechauns.
Awesome.
Yeah. He also finds out that he can turn invisible, like, kind of morph with the shadows, which, what a great time to figure that out. I'm gonna be invisible. I wish I had that power every St. Patrick's Day growing up in Southie. I'm just gonna not be here.
Oh, you don't like the way the leprechauns...
But
if your name is Nightcrawler, then you can just hide in the shadows, can't you?
Yeah. You big blue demon fuck. You pointy-eared bastard.
Oh, what do you got there, two swords? Oh, I think you can stick one in yourself, now, can't you?
Oh my god.
Go fuck yourself, Nightcrawler.
Yeah. I mean, just the writing. Well, they're in Ireland, right? Leprechauns. Gotta have that shit in there. After coming back from space. Leprechauns.
Yeah,
comics.
why not? They're mutants in space.
Yep. And then you get this...
It sounds pretty similar to some of the stuff that they had in the cartoon, though, at the very least. Because they had them go to Ireland after Professor Xavier, had some...
And Black Tom and Juggernaut were there.
Yeah, but they also had that alien chick as well as
Lilandra,
as well as the champion as well.
Yep. And that's one thing I did like about the cartoon was that for the most part it's probably the best adaptation of the actual comic book you're going to get is the 90s X-Men cartoon.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And again, we got "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch" from it.
Mm-hmm. We did. And then you get this weird, like, red leather gimp looking dude named Eric the Red. I don't know what it is with people, like, basic names and primary colors. Black Tom and Eric the Red.
This is, what, the 70s?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So, yeah.
Their room for creativity wasn't really there.
Yeah.
They would smoke a joint or do mushrooms and just be like, yo.
Yeah.
What about Eric the Red? Dude.
Yeah, and we'll give him, like, red leather strappy things.
His best friend can be Black Tom Cassidy.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that'd be so sick.
Yeah, and I guess, and so Eric the Red's whole deal is kind of creating this distraction so that Lilandra can't reach out to the X-Men for help, which of course she eventually does because, mutant psi powers.
And she's gonna hit up her main squeeze, Xavier.
Right, yeah.
Because they got a fling.
Yeah, well, odd-shaped heads attract, right? I mean, his is perfectly square, and I know perfectly circle. Her is
Hmm.
a triangle.
Hmm.
Um,
And she can walk. He can't. Doesn't matter.
right.
She's an alien. They might bang
Opposites
different.
attract. Yeah, yeah. Um, and then God, what else happens? And then of course, and then in the comic series, they come across other villains like Arcade and Shadow King and
Miscellaneous small villains to fill.
right, yeah. Wild Jean is kind of coming to terms with the whole Phoenix bit. She's got an episode where she's got to tell her parents about why she's acting so differently. And I'm trying to imagine that conversation, like Jean being like, "Mom, Dad, there's something I have to tell you, but you can't freak out." "Oh God, Jean, you're not pregnant, are you?" "No, no, but while I was going to school, I was going on missions in space for this school, which is more like a paramilitant organization. That and I was exposed to some solar radiation, and thus became a host for a cosmic entity that is older than time and has destructive capabilities, wiping out all of life."
So
"Oh, Gene,
wait,
that's it. Gene, that's it. That's it. I thought it could be worse. Is that all?" "Wait, what do you mean that all?" "Oh, Gene, we thought you were a lesbian."
it was
"Wait,
the
that's
70s.
that was the worst." Well, to be fair, or you could be dating a black." And then Gene just being like, "I'm gonna blow this fucking shit up."
Wait, do her parents know that she's a mutant?
Yeah, I mean, in different iterations, like her parents knew about it, through Xavier.
Because in my mind, after all that, it would just be like, so what you're telling me is that you're fucking mutie?
Yeah,
Get out of here. You're no
right.
daughter of mine.
Yeah. "No, I'm not a mutant. I'm a host for a cosmic entity." "Oh, well, that's different. That's
Oh,
totally different."
who put this inside you?
Yeah, you didn't have control over that, but you do have control over how you're born.
Yeah,
America.
America.
Yeah.
1970s America.
Yeah, and then you have Lilandra finally, or Lilandra.
La
I like calling her
Landra.
Lil. Little Lil.
Little Lil?
Little Lil.
I
Gets
don't
to
know.
Earth.
Lalandra sounds so sophisticated, though.
Lilandra.
Lalandra.
Yeah. Come on, Lilandria. Come and go.
Wait, is it Lalandra or Lalandria? Because I feel like Lalandra is exotic, but Lalandria is kind of like,
Lilandria is like a snotty stepsister you would get in a bad
yeah.
marriage. Like, "Dad, Lilandria's in my room again. Get her out."
Lalandria,
Be nice.
get
Be
your
nice to your
dolls away from my
sister.
action figures.
Yeah. Lilandra, I believe, is how it's pronounced. At least that's how I remember it in the comics. Or no, I'm sorry, in the comics, the cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like Lalandra, but we can go with Lily if you want.
Yeah. Well, no, we'll go with Lilandra or Lil.
Lil works. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's on the run because her brother is like trying to take her power, her political power, and he wants to his name is Deken, D''Ken,
Some
and
John Wick
Deken,
shit.
yeah, Deken wants to sacrifice Lilandra to the Emkron crystal to gain more cosmic power, which sounds a little familiar. Some kind of a mad Titan dude sacrificing a loved one for a fucking stone.
Yeah.
Deja
sounds
vu, if
familiar.
you will. Yeah. So
Foreshadowing.
then, yeah. So then Eric the Red, he kidnaps Lilandra, goes back to space. Phoenix also has the power to create stargates, and she takes the X-Men into space, and where they fight, but they're outnumbered. But then the Starjammers arrive, which is like a group of space outlaws with daddy issues.
They
Not
sound like a 70s band.
Yes,
Are
and
you
not
kids ready
like
to listen to the Starjammers tonight?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sort of like Guardians, but different daddy issues. Like Corsair, the main pirate, he's a daddy with issues because he's been estranged from Cyclops and Havoc, who he thought were dead.
So he's Cyclops and Havoc's father?
Yeah, Corsair, the Starjammer, leader of the Starjammers.
Fuck the 70s.
Yeah, he's got like a porn mustache too and like a bandana.
So Burt Reynolds could have played him in it, like,
Probably.
at the time.
Yeah, probably.
Damn, that would have been nice. Salt and pepper hair. Burt Reynolds
a
is fucking
yeah.
Korvac.
There's a great bit of dialogue in the cartoon where he has Cyclops prisoner, and he says, my sons were from Earth. I haven't seen my oldest one in years. He had his mother's eyes. Wouldn't even know if I saw him today. I was like, oh, his mother's eyes. You can't see it because of a visor.
Now, is his outfit similar to like Gem and the Holograms, where it's like a Speedo kind of with a belt and knee-high boots that are all silver? Because that's what I'm imagining for...
Not silver, but it's like black and red with like a pop collar.
Oh, man, I was so close.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he has knee-high boots.
Awesome.
Like knee-high pirate boots.
Like in the 70s.
Yeah, that's what you wear to space in the 70s.
I can see Burt Reynolds wearing that shit. Or fucking Sean Connery.
Yeah, like it was, oh god, Zardoz. Have you seen his outfit in Zardoz? Holy shit. Oh my god, that'd be hilarious. Yeah.
That'd be great.
My name is Corsair, and I'm a Starjammer.
Corsair.
Yeah.
My son, Scott.
Oh my god, that would be hilarious. We gotta get the Mcron crystal. What the hell did my manager get me into? That's just absurd. Yeah.
Anyway.
Anywho, meanwhile, back in space with the Starjammers. And then Jean actually finds out that Corsair is Cyclops' biological father.
Mm-hmm.
But she decides to keep it a secret because, nothing serves what is it? I mean, because secrets are the foundation for any loving and trusting relationship, right? I'm just because Scott can't take it right now. We're in space, and he can't. Yeah.
And look at his dad's outfit. You don't want to reveal that, like, at that moment.
Yeah. You know that creepy dude with the porn stash? That's your dad.
Like, he's really handsome, don't you think, Scott? No? Come on. He's, like, in a fatherly sort of way.
Gino. But yeah, so eventually Jean saves everybody. At one point they get sucked into the Mcron crystal, like you do. Fixes the crystal. Defeats Dekenton. And they all go back to Earth. And Lilandra's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to Earth and hang out with Charles while you work out the politics here, and let me know when you want me to come back and be your queen." So Lilandra and Xavier, they got a thing going on, and Scott and Jean are kind of working through the motions of, my girlfriend is now this goddess or whatever. Meanwhile, you've got this 18th century looking fuckboy group called the Hellfire Club, who were all about like long hair and sideburns and looking like your
Motley Crue?
A little bit, but if the Motley Crue was around for the Revolution.
Ooh.
That's basically what they are. They're rich, quote-unquote, sophisticated.
I feel like that would be a gang
boys.
in the Warriors.
I think that killed Jay. Oh, there you are.
I think that would be a gang in the Warriors.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah,
because they'll got the ponytails and like they just look like just George Washington motherfuckers.
Pretty much to be a gang in the Warriors, you just need a theme.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and for the era, that's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, the rules are have matching uniforms, at least be more than 3 people.
You can have glitter, but you don't have to.
Right.
But it's preferred.
Yeah. And if you want to take little bottles and put them on your fingers and clink them together, that's cool too. That can be your gimmick.
Come out and play.
Oh, God, pretty much. So they hack this deal, or they hatch this plan. I don't know how you hack a deal. They hatch a plan. This guy, Mastermind, and Emma Frost, known as the White Queen. See, there we are again with the colors.
I know, yeah.
The White Queen, they want to make Jean Grey the Black Queen.
Jean Grey?
Yeah, Jean Grey, the Black Queen, with the red hair. So they devised that Mastermind is going to slowly seduce Jean Grey. And the way that Mastermind and Emma Frost designed this plan is that we're going to do these time slips where it's like she goes back in time to the 18th century with this handsome man that she falls in love with, and it's like, what? If she's not gonna fuck you in this time period, why would you do it in the 18 or the 1700s?
All right.
Yeah.
Like,
So
no. My standards are way lower because I'm way younger and like
yep.
extremely gullible.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
oh, what's that you got there? You're from the future, mister? That's so nice.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And it's funny to think that like Emma Frost at some point will be Cyclops' new main squeeze.
Yeah, but
And
everyone squeezes each other in for
pretty
the most
much. It,
part.
it again, comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Didn't She-Hulk squeeze on like Wolverine?
probably.
Mm.
Probably. It's just a giant cesspool.
I know she did the Cannonball special, and she commented on how firm and nice his butt was.
Ah,
Yeah.
that'll do it. Give me some of that Canadian bacon. So at certain points, Jean has like a time slip where she's like, it's almost like in a really bad like romance novel. It's almost like Inception level. Like we're gonna rewrite reality, just like oh now we're in a pirate ship and you're wearing a corset but and I have long powdered hair.
They should have animated this.
I think they did.
Did they?
The Hellfire
sounds
Club is
so
at least
silly.
animated. It is
Right.
pretty. Oh, dude, it gets sillier. So at one point, Xavier gets a notice on his mutant friend finder app that there's like hot new single mutants meet in the area, and they send his team into town, and they discover that one of the mutants is Dazzler.
Hell yeah.
And so she can turn like music into light energy, and it's a kick-ass good time. Little do they know that the Hellfire Club has infiltrated the Xavier Institute. They're able to follow every move. So Mastermind shows up to this concert where he does this time traveling seduction tactic, and Jean actually kisses Mastermind in front of Cyclops, and it's super awkward. But eventually, Dazzler and the X-Men, they find out about the Hellfire Club, where some of the team is, kind of been kidnapped and placed there. Like Kitty Pryde was a stowaway trying to figure out where Emma Frost was going, and I think Storm is held captive. It's a whole thing. Let's see here. I'm going through my notes here. And Jean eventually figures out, like, oh, shit, it's the Hellfire Club who's behind this kind of weird, awkward time-traveling seduction technique. And Jean kind of gets a little carried away with her telekinetic fight with Emma Frost, where she kind of just beats the holy hell out of her.
Seems fair.
Yeah, and
Battle of the Minds, you got to be able to scrap.
Right. Which it kind of afterwards, it kind of leaves Storm and Cyclops to be like, she's getting a little cray-cray, almost kind of like Varys and Tyrion, be like, oh, this bitch who plays with fire is getting crazy.
Like, she's not really our gem right now. We need to dial back, see if she's the right one for us.
Right. At least they didn't have like a Varys Tyrion, like, we gotta take her out. Like, that's treason. It's not like...
Here he is in the cartoon.
Yeah.
I was trying to see what he looked like, because, like, I expected him to be way uglier for some reason.
Mastermind?
Yeah.
I just imagine him as being... He's not ugly, but he's not the most... Like, I just imagine, like, long, greasy hair. Maybe somebody doesn't brush their teeth a lot.
Yeah, it's like old-timey handsome, like a Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Oh, speak of the devil.
Sherlock Holmes is calling you?
No, David Tennant. Like, somebody has a side-by-side of Mastermind and David Tennant. And I can see that.
David Tennant would be a good Mastermind. I fully support that casting choice.
Cumberbatch, but... But obviously...
But I think David Tennant would be... I mean... Because God, I don't know what's going on with the Netflix Marvel stuff. Because he already played Kilgrave, but
right.
If they want to distance themselves, they could do that. But Cyclops is worried about how deeply the Hellfire maybe have infiltrated the mansion. Like are we being bugged? So instead of going to Ireland, they go to New Mexico. They hang out with Angel at his pad. And Scott and Jean kind of have a really tender moment where they establish like a strong and permanent kind of mind link between the two. It's like a promise ring that you can never take off because it's you're just always with your person. because they weren't engaged yet. So that's how I see it, as like a promise ring.
Sure.
And then they devise a plan to sneak back into the Hellfire Club to kind of figure what they're up to. It all goes to shit. X-Men are caught. And Mastermind, his transformation from Jean to Black Queen is complete because she attacks Cyclops. And it's actually also kind of one of my favorite Wolverine moments because at this point, one of the guys of the Hellfire Club, he can change your mass and density. So he makes Wolverine so heavy that he falls through all of the fucking levels of the building into the sewers. And so Wolverine basically, like in video game fashion, from the bottom, fights his way back up, like fucking slashing through all of these fucking mercenaries that work for the Hellfire Club. It's kind of awesome.
That sounds pretty dope.
Yeah.
Castlevania shit.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So they go through that.
That's the first we've heard of Wolverine throughout all this, too.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's there, but I mean, that was kind of his big moment.
It's not like he's like, no, Gene, I'm in love with you, too.
Yeah, I was never really a big fan of that triangle.
Mm.
I mean, I feel like that kind of came in, like when I was rereading this portion of the X-Men comics, that really wasn't up, like, right. I feel like that was a later reimagining because at the time, Wolverine is into that Yuriko, like his girl in Japan,
Lady Deathclaw or whatever.
Yeah, so he was kind of more focused on that than Jean, but so he fights his way back up to the top, So and then Storm is trying to do her best to appeal to Phoenix, but she's gone. Like Black Queen is there. She fully believes that she's her own creepy ancestor from the past. And Cyclops does his best to try to like use that mental connection between the two. Right. And he tries to reach out to Jean mentally, but when he goes into Jean's mind, he shows up looking like a fucking dork in a tri-corner hat and like buckled shoes and pulled up socks, fit the whole 18th century vibe. Where Cyclops and Mastermind have a duel en garde. I throw the gauntlet. So they have a duel.
Can you just eye blast him?
I guess not in the mental mind place. You can't. You check your optic blast at the door. And because Cyclops didn't really go through a lot of swashbuckling danger room sessions, he loses. So he in the way they do it in the comic, he dies on this mental astral plane. But in reality, you see him kind of like buckle and like fall over, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, Mastermind!" It's kind of like the Matrix. If you die in the Matrix, you die in reality.
Right.
So he falls over, and everyone is like freaking out, like, "Oh my god, you killed fucking Cyclops!" And this is just enough of a jarring moment to snap Jean out of it, you know. And we also kind of learned too that when Moira McTaggart back in Ireland, there on Muir Island, that she's running these tests, and they realize that Jean set these boundaries, these like psychic barriers to kind of keep her in place, but through all of the manipulation by Mastermind and Emma Frost, they accidentally remove those barriers, hence leaving room for the Dark Phoenix to emerge. And it's funny, so this shocks Jean's out of Mastermind's control. She frees the team, and so in retaliation, she's so fucking pissed at what Mastermind did that she exposes his mind to like the vastness of space and time, and basically just fries Mastermind's brain. Like he just is like comatose after that, which is kind of a badass moment, Yeah. But that's sort of when it's.
I feel like the douchiness of the explanation of that, though, like, what'd you do to him? I opened his mind to the vastness of space and time. Like, okay, whatever, Socrates.
Yeah, like, all right, nerd, whatever. So he's down for the count, and the X-Men gotta, book it out of there because they're afraid that, like, if anybody looks at this in a certain way, they're gonna think that mutants are attacking humans. That's not the case, so they gotta skedaddle. Beast at the time is an Avenger. He's hanging out at Avengers Mansion, which is like on the same street as the Hellfire Club. So he comes to help out. They get out of there. But at this point, Jean Grey is like full on Dark Phoenix. So she destroys the plane they're trying to fly away on. She has this big display in Central Park. Giant phoenix bird appears. And at that time, in the Hellfire Club, Sebastian Shaw, played by Kevin Bacon in one of the X-Men movies, is talking to Senator Kelly about, hey, we should really think about, refunding the Sentinel program. And then, oh, look, there's a giant fiery bird caused by a mutant. How convenient. Right. Sentinels, let's do it. So then Jean's like, fuck this, fuck you, I'm better than y'all, I'm going to space. She creates another, Stargate, after she overpowers the team. And so she travels all these light years back to the Shi'ar galaxy, and that can make a girl hungry.
Does she eat people?
She basically does a swan dive into one of their suns, and in doing so on a nearby planet, it basically she killed by destroying the sun. She killed about 5 million people.
That's it. Well, people
or 5 million space entity alien thingies.
Creatures.
And so, yeah, and don't forget, Cyclops still has a front row seat to all this shit. So he's like, holy fucking shit. She's just jumping off the deep end. She just destroyed the sun and destroying a planet. And then she kind of does a U-turn and is coming back to Earth. And Cyclops is like, well, that bitch is going to be hungry by the time she gets here. We got to make a plan. And along the way, she destroys one of the Shi'ar ships. So Lilandra, gets word of this, and so and she's the ruler, and so she's talking with all of these different species about well, fuck, what are we gonna do? Because my bae is best friends with the Phoenix, and it's super awkward, and I don't know what to do. And then meanwhile on Earth, they're all like, what are we gonna do? Jean's a fucking god, and also she and Scott are a thing, and Ox. Totally
it's still awkward.
Don't know what to do.
70s awkward.
Yep. So then Jean goes back to her house. I don't know why. And she goes to see her family, and her family is fucking scared of her. And it kind of starts to annoy her. Like, why are you afraid of me? I don't know. You're on fire, Jean.
Afraid of.
Yeah, you're on fire. You're on fire in our house. You're scaring the dog and your mother. But then the X-Men, through Cerebro, realize Jean's there. They show up under a fog created by Storm. And, Jean comes out like, you think you bitches could sneak up on me? I'm the motherfucking Phoenix. I eat suns for breakfast. And you think a little cloud was gonna fucking throw me off? And then Beast is like, haha! And puts this, weird gizmo on her head. Like, it's a brain scrambler. She won't know what's happening. Science. And Jean's like, bitch, please. And, just melts it off her head. And then Wolverine has a moment with her, where they're fighting. And at one point, Wolverine actually gets the upper hand, and suddenly Jean kind of reemerges, and she's like, oh my god, Logan, please, kill me. And Wolverine's like, I wasn't expecting this. You're supposed to be an evil bitch. You can't come at me all, puppy-eyed, saying kill me. And then Phoenix is like, ha-ha, motherfucker, and then bitch slaps Wolverine away. And then Cyclops is like, Jean, I love you, mental connection. And so Jean's sort of like, oh, Scott, you're right. And once she starts to come back, Xavier's like, ha, and does a mental mind blast. And then they have a telekinetic fight. But through fighting, Xavier and Jean work out a way to kind of lock down the Dark Phoenix, get those psychic barriers back, and everyone, Jean's like, oh my god, you guys, I'm back! That was totally crazy. And everyone's like, yeah, Jean's back, Jean's back, Jean's back. And Cyclops is like, marry me, Jean! And Jean's like, okay, Scott, let's do it. And then all of a sudden, they're in space. And Lilandra is all like, hey, y'all gotta surrender your crazy bitch, because she broke some mad laws up here. Destroying suns and destroying planets. And Xavier's like, okay, honey, I hear you. This is a bad sitch, but let's think about it. What if we do a trial by combat? My people fight your people. And Lilandra's like, okay, tomorrow morning, your people fights my people. And everyone's like, Xavier, couldn't you have asked us first before you fucking volunteered us to fucking die. I mean, this is like Gladiator, fucking giant purple beefcake with a mohawk. Like, I mean, it's, he was handling Juggernaut like nothing. We're like, what are we gonna do? And they all kind of have this moment to reflect, like, well, Jean's our friend, and she would do the same for us, and so yeah, they get transported to a spot on the moon that has oxygen, where they have this fight, and Jean Grey shows up in her old Marvel Girl uniform. She's like, I started as Marvel Girl, I'm going to end it as Marvel Girl, and and so one by one, these guys are getting taken out to the point where it is legitimately just
one-sided battles.
Well, it's just Cyclops and Jean left, And there's even a point where one of Lilandra's advisors, Araki, is like, the X-Men face hopeless odds, but they are exceptional beings. Suppose they win. And Lilandra's like, bitch, please, they will not win. You have my word on that. And as she's saying it, she's shedding a tear, because she knows the rift this is creating between her and Charles.
Right.
And as all of these guys are getting knocked out one by one, she has this thought bubble where, like, I warned you, Charles, as each X-Men falls, another piece is cut from your heart, as one is cut from mine. I want to comfort you, be with you in your hour of need, but I cannot. For I am the Empress. I must obey my duty, no matter what the cost. So I love just the drama, like, it's so soap opera-y, and so,
Space soap opera.
Yep, exactly. It's a space opera. So they have this fight on the moon, and it's just her and Cyclops, and her kind of psychic breakers start to kind of break down again, and the Dark Phoenix comes back. And so Jean has this lucid moment where she's like, I'm going to lose control again. And Cyclops is like, no, we'll figure it out. She's like, no, I'm always going to have to constantly live in fear that this shit is going to come back, and I'm going to, and I'm just going to kill everyone around me. And so at the last minute, she summons some of these, like, weapons that are on the moon, and she kills herself. Like, she just, like, has all of these. And again, Cyclops has a front row seat to all of this. And that is the Dark Phoenix saga. Like, the next day, Cyclops is like, peace, I'm gonna go find myself. Right when Kitty Pryde's like, I'm here to join the X-Men.
Good for her.
Yeah. And so that roughly was the Dark Phoenix saga. And
none of the movies did it right.
No, and there's shades of it. I mean, first of all, I feel like if you're gonna do that story right, I think a Phoenix trilogy could have been cool, because then you could set up the shit with the Shi'ar Empire and the M'Kraan crystals and all that shit, And then so in X-Men: The Last Stand, they make it like I was saying earlier, like it's almost like a Fight Club thing. Like it was an alter ego, and yeah, so it wasn't like really cosmic. It was just more like this thing that Charles had to suppress.
She was just really powerful.
Yeah, and then in the Dark Phoenix, I appreciate them kind of going for the cosmic angle, because the movie starts with them in space,
right?
And Jean being exposed to the solar flare. And honestly, I didn't think Dark Phoenix was a bad movie. Maybe because I had my expectations set appropriately.
That's fair.
But and I like Michael Fassbender. He's actually rocking my favorite a Magneto outfit. It's basically like a black Magneto helmet with like a black trench coat. And I was like, I feel like if this shit were to happen in real life, that'd probably be the way this dude would dress, not all the other weird outfits that he wore in the other
red
movies.
And like leather and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, check it out. Did you know I have abs? Because you can see through them through this leather.
Right. And, and one thing I like, and how much of a Cyclops fan I am, I actually liked Cyclops in this movie. Like, we got to see him do stuff. We got to see him, there's actually a really great action scene in the streets of New York that kind of felt like a classic X-Men comic book. And Cyclops... Yeah, I know.
I hate her.
I know you do. But Cyclops he's got the best line in the whole movie, because Magneto is going to kill Jean because of this uncontrollable energy, and Cyclops just goes, Magneto, touch her and I'll fucking kill you. And I was like,
they're one F-bomb.
I don't know. It hit all the right buttons for me. But again, I went into that movie knowing We're not going to get Sheer Empire. We're not going to get Lilandra.
Right.
You know, so I mean, it is what it is. I appreciate. I mean, it's like you look at the Avengers movies, right? And they went full on cosmic. Like in the first Avengers movie, it's a legit invasion from space.
Yeah,
like I never thought we would see Thanos. I thought if we did see Thanos, they were gonna make him like Doomsday, where he was like this weird government experiment gone wrong. Like we were trying to replicate the super soldier formula, and so we got a purple grimace.
I remember when they first showed Thanos in theaters, and I heard people whispering like, "Yo, who was that? Who is that?" And they like got the names wrong and shit.
I think the funniest thing I heard was, "Is that Red Skull?" No, this dude is purple.
So many years of build-up, and it was so worth it.
Yeah,
and they can't do the X-Men right. Their casting is so fucking on point so often. The people look great. They're good actors, except for J Law and fucking Sansa.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just have good writers. Get your shit done right.
Well, you know what kills me is the writer and director of The Dark Phoenix wrote The Last Stand.
He did fucking both?
Yes.
Why would,
Exactly, Jay. Why?
That's dumb. That's like getting the dude that did the Wolverine to direct Game of Thrones.
Oh, wait.
What?
Mind blown. Now you watched the X-Men cartoon, right? As a kid?
Yeah. I watched the X-Men cartoon. I watched the shitty live action movies.
Do you remember the Phoenix cartoon though? The Dark Phoenix?
Not as well as I thought I did.
Well, I mean, like I said,
the Juggernaut bitch really stands out in my mind. Right. But I also remember Professor Xavier's mental battle with the Phoenix, where he's wearing an army outfit fighting her, and then eventually covers her in a whole bunch of rocks.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that part, and I remember fucking Alhambra.
Yeah, I just remember I was really blown away by the Phoenix Saga as a kid, because the thing that I took away from it was not the fact that you saw Jean die, but the fact that you had episodes of just the remaining team having to deal with that.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like she's dead, and then, you know, they're on to the next thing. It's just like everybody's just kind of coming to terms with it. And of course, you know, in that lineup where you had the love connection or the love triangle where, you know, Wolverine's like, "Gee, no, I loved you."
Well, it was like deep into the show too, where they did that.
It was like the third season, I think.
Yeah, and if I remember right, the very first episode they kill off a dude.
Morph.
Yeah, they kill him off. So like, you know, the show's not afraid to kill people off.
Right, and I think as a kid, because Morph died so early, it didn't have that same impact the way that Jean did. Because you thought that they were like the Untouchables, because God, that was 1993 or 94, so I was 8 or 9 years old as that was being aired.
I wasn't old enough for when it was aired. I just got repeats.
Yeah, so I hadn't read the Dark Phoenix. Yeah,
93. I was 2.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I mean, I know. I was just thinking that like that would be our first exposure to that story. So I didn't have like the comic for the point of reference, and I didn't actually honestly read the Dark Phoenix comic up until I think a year ago, because I'm still on this journey of reading every single X-Men book.
And then with the new movie coming out too, it was like, oh yeah, that's the thing. But like,
I mean,
honestly, new movie just looks so bad.
When I heard they were doing Dark Phoenix, I mean, my legit thought was like, "Oh God, no! Like, why are we revisiting this? You could do an entire X-Men franchise and not touch Dark Phoenix."
Yeah, and like
you would be okay with it.
At least spread it into 2 episodes if you're gonna do it. And like, if you're gonna do a movie franchise for the X-Men, like, have build up toward it.
Like, honestly, if you were to do Phoenix right, they should treat Phoenix like an Endgame, where this is, I mean, like, the stakes are so high where the X-Men now have to fight one of their own, and it's so bad where, you know, you do have to get some of the villains involved, because it's like, well, I don't want to die either, you know?
Or even just, like, what was the last movie? Fucking Apocalypse?
Yeah, Apocalypse.
Yeah, Apocalypse, and have them end up having a fight him in space. Fucking Jean does the uh I'm gonna pilot the thing, whatever, sacrifice myself, and then she dies, sad funeral. Then the episode or the movie ends with an after credits with fucking her standing there in her new outfit, just being like, "Oh Scott, it's so nice to see you.
Yeah.
I was so scared and by myself."
Well, here's what's interesting, right, about how they wanted to bring Jean Grey back. Because at one point, Marvel was like, "Hey, we should have the original lineup together, like Beast and Angel and Iceman and Jean and Scott." And Chris Claremont's like, "Well, I just killed Jean. Cyclops left the team and is now married to somebody else with a baby." And the other thing too is like, well, Jean killing a bunch of people. What if that wasn't Jean? What if that when they were going back to Earth, and Jean or the Phoenix made a copy of Jean, while the real Jean was in a Phoenix cocoon at the bottom of Jamaica Bay, and that's legit what happens. I think it's either an issue of Avengers or Fantastic Four, where like Reed Richards is like, "Oh, this is Jean Grey. She's been alive this whole time." It's like, and Jean's like, "See, I didn't kill anybody. That was somebody else."
And fuck you, comic book writers.
Yeah. So, and that's where like the X-Men: The Last Stand bit thing. It's like, well, I mean. Someone's like, well, I mean, it was in the comic that she was at the bottom of a river. I'm like, yeah, but just because it's in the comic doesn't make it good.
Right. It's true to what is pure. It's like, fuck off.
Yeah. And the whole thing with, like, because in the new movie, the X-Men do confront Jean in front of her parents' house, which was like, okay, that was kind of cool, because that was in the comic, and that was handled way better than fucking Phoenix Force cocoon at the bottom of a river.
But they should have had Cyclops' father.
Oh, yeah. No, the listen, if they can make the Guardians work, Starjammers could be a thing.
At least in the background.
Yeah. I mean, guy, if you had the Guardians, like just come across the Starjammers in one of the volumes, that would be hilarious.
If in the next volume they just have a bar fight sort of thing and Starjammers are in the background, just talk about his kid or some shit.
Yeah.
Never look my son directly in the eye.
Yeah. No, I mean,
it'll be the last thing you see.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that would be... It would be great. But, yeah, comics. Wackadoo. Comics, everybody. But it's been kind of fun. It's been fun to, like I said, revisit this. But it's just funny how many times, like... Phoenix has come back. Like I was saying earlier, Phoenix came back in the Grant Morrison run, and
then there's all the Phoenix Force stuff with fucking Cyclops, Colossus, and all that shit.
And you bring up a good point, because remember earlier when I said that Jean Grey killed 5 billion people?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone still loves Jean, Phoenix or not.
Mm-hmm.
Cyclops kills one dude as the Phoenix. Everyone's like, what a fucking dick.
Yeah, but it's who he killed.
More like, what a fucking double standard, am I right?
It's who he killed, though.
I know, but still.
Like...
You get what I'm saying, though. 5 billion to 1.
Well, yeah, don't get me wrong. But, like, still...
I'm not saying you support mass murder. I just think it's funny that everyone's like...
It's like,
But how is it? Well, Jean gets a pass because it was the Phoenix. Well, then by that logic, why isn't Scott getting a pass since he was the Phoenix?
Think of it as like Attila the Hun and the guy that shot Cecil the Lion. One's historical and it's just like, okay, yeah. Oh, no, he raped and killed, has affected the entire population of China? Okay, that sounds pretty badass. Yeah, I'd like to have known that dude back in the day. That dude shot a lion that had a really nice mane? Fuck that dentist.
Well, I get your point.
The comparisons are always going to be there.
Right.
It depends on how history looks at you.
Yeah. Oh, man. I just don't like anybody killing animals anyway. I mean,
yeah, the dude's a piece of shit. I'm not trying to say like
no,
hey,
yeah, no.
like,
I get it.
defend
I
that
get
guy
it.
for a second.
Yeah,
Fuck that
no,
guy.
it's
He
like I
deserves
would
to
have
his
an
balls eaten by a fucking jackal.
I mean, honestly, I would have an easier time shooting a human being than I would an animal. Like I'd be like, it's like this human or a giraffe. Sorry, buddy, the giraffe lives another day. I think maybe it might just because of like I think that perception of like innocence. You know, like what does this poor giraffe do? I mean, I know this human is, you know.
Anyway,
I feel like we're getting way off topic. This is like it's like.
Anyway.
Anywho, glad we caught ourselves there before it was like Rob being like
before we say something wrong.
Not even wrong, but Rob being like, I had to cut off about 3 hours from the episode because it became...
How'd we go negative?
Yeah,
we owe you episodes.
Yeah. We went negative. Yeah, it's not a moral podcast or a psychology podcast. It's just comics.
Yeah, just.
But
comics.
Anywho, that's the beauty of comics. It opens the doors for great conversations that you're not going to hear on this show.
Yeah.
So yeah, Phoenix. I think it's when I reread the story, I could see why people love it because, like I said, like just the drama between like Cyclops and Jean, but also like Lilandra and Charles and everybody on the team. Like it definitely kind of carries more emotional weight, especially with Jean realizing like, wow, I'm never gonna get better.
Mm.
So
and
rather
it's
than
good that she took that step.
Well, and I think it kind of absolves people of any kind of guilt. Like none of you have to kill me. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, if only Game of Thrones did something like that with their Fire Lady.
Oh, fucking hell, man.
Yeah.
That's all I could think of. Was like, these two leaders with fire powers that, Well,
War in the Ash.
Yeah, I mean, right. Phoenix.
Yeah. Fire doesn't hurt either of them.
Yeah, it just one had way better pacing, and I think kind of like knew what it was doing, while the other one was just like, oh, we have cliff notes from the guys. Like it wasn't our story, somebody else's.
We're getting off topic again.
Oh yeah, we are.
Let's wrap this up.
Jay, what have you been reading, watching, doing this week?
I just finished Sarzan Mai. That was pretty fun. It's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Kappa Bros. They end up trying to get dishes of hope so that they can get their wish granted. But the way they become Kappas to fight the evil otters of desire is they have a Kappa god suck their desire out of their butthole. And yeah. The show's silly.
It sucks their desire out of their butthole.
Yeah, and then they turn into Kappas so that they can fight the otters. And each otter has a specific desire, and they defeat them with the power of song and dance. And then the way they finish them off is they each shoot into the butt of the giant otter person thing, like kind of like anal beads, and then pull out the desire of that thing, and then that becomes the dish of hope, so that they can get their wish granted. It's so silly. It's great.
Wow.
It's really good artwork too.
And this is a manga.
It's an anime.
Okay.
And there's a couple of really gay cops, like super gay. It's awesome. Like pulling shirts off each other, reaching into the chest and grabbing his heart and then licking it. And then that's what turns the evil otter, or turns evil people into otters of desire thing. Because they're trying to corrupt the world. Yeah.
I'm your phoenix. I'm your otter. Your desire.
It's great.
Wow.
That just finished. Good ending.
Cool.
Outside of that, just catching up from Japan.
Yeah. Getting back in your time zone.
I'm trying. I keep sleeping 13 hours. That's rough.
Yeah. I think that's the kind of the thing that makes me nervous about that type of travel is you got to like kind of schedule like for me, I would have to schedule some time when I get there to acclimate, and then time when I get back to acclimate. Like I couldn't fly back from Japan and go straight to work.
So when I fly down there, like each time I've been fine adjusting to their time zone because I just stay up for X amount of time and then I'm good.
Right.
I have much harder time trying to like fall asleep beforehand and like get back to our time zone.
Mm.
It's been like a week of staying up until sorry, I'm yawning right now.
No.
Until 3 in the morning, and then waking up at 7 to get ready for work and just being like, I hate my life. I'm gonna take a nap. And then it doesn't fucking help because I take the goddamn nap.
Yeah. And it's just supporting like a different cycle of sleep. Yeah,
it is what it is. I'll get used to it eventually. More
you
video
will.
games and porn, and I'll be good.
That's the trick.
Yeah,
getting back to your time zone. God, just a boatload of X-Men. There's a great comic series out called X-Men Grand Design, and it's basically a condensed version of all the X-Men history.
Okay, kind
so
of like
it's
a Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's like the Cliff Notes version of the X-Men. So, if you didn't want to like reread like the Phoenix Saga, you could just like pick up like this Grand Design, and it's abbreviated and it kind of highlights all the important things you need to know about. It's kind of cool because we're at the point now where God, we're gonna have 80 years of Marvel continuity. So
Jesus.
it's 80 years. So it if you kind of, again, want the abbreviated version, Grand Design is a good way to go. Hopefully they'll do other stuff like Spider-Man and Avengers.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, other than that, I'm excited because I got a not Marvel. Well, it is Marvel, but it's an Amazon exclusive this week. So how like those Marvel Legends figures?
Yeah.
They did a 3-pack, and it's Magneto, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch.
Hell yeah.
And it's great because it's got different hands and different heads, and I really like the sculpt of all of them. And that's what's been making me happy. And my photography, if you want to call it that, got noticed by a website in the UK, Marvel Legends UK. Did a nice little profile, nice little shout out. And thank you, because my followers went up by about 20 people. And when they post
awesome
and when they post my pictures, that shit gets way more likes. Like, I post my picture on a good day, I might get 30, maybe 50.
You, right?
Yeah, they did. That's how I got all these followers and these likes. But when they post my pictures on their thing and they tag me in it, it's close to 700.
It's funny how it works like that, right?
Seriously, but I'll take the exposure.
Yeah.
So
you'll get more people following you that way.
Yeah. I just want to be a paid toy photographer.
That'd be a pretty dope job.
That would be, actually. Who am I kidding?
I'll try and I'll try and like take photos step by step as I do my model kit for one of my Ligers, probably Liger 0.
Yeah.
And see if I can't like have that posted up on our website.
Yeah, you should. Why not?
It's a lot of effort.
I see what you're saying.
It's a lot of effort.
To build or post pictures?
Both.
Well, if you need help, like if you want to just send me the pictures, I can do that for you.
Fair enough.
All right, good stuff. Well, gang, thank you for listening to our review of comic book history of The Dark Phoenix here on GraphicMultiverse.com and on the Multiverse podcast. So don't forget to check out our stuff on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and of course the Graphic Multiverse podcast. And as always, enjoy your issues.
Hey!